What's going on? What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Stream Chill. This is your boy Junius. As always, I have my lovely co-host Jonita.
Hi, Jonita Davis.
Jonita
Hello.
Davis. My bad.
Yes.
You got to say the whole thing like a
I
tribe
mean,
called
of
Quest.
course. Of course. I'm big stuff. Okay.
How you
Come on
doing
now.
today? How you feel?
Good. It's late. I'm tired, but it's good. And I think you're like
Yeah, I'm
barely here,
tired
right?
too.
Too. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
So
tired too. It's
we're
past my
both kind of.
bedtime. I am an old man. So let's get
But we
right
got.
into it. The
Yeah.
final episode of Blackbird has aired,
Mm-hmm.
and it was everything I wanted it to be. And it starts off, and we kind of get to see Jimmy in the
Mm-hmm.
middle of his bad dream. He's having
Mm-hmm.
a very, very bad dream,
Yeah.
and he's going through some of the things and some of the events of the story that Larry told him in the last episode.
Mm-hmm.
He's actually choking one of the girls, and I'm thinking like, and it brings me back to something I said in our first podcast. I was like, I thought that Jimmy was the one doing it. I thought this was Jimmy doing this and not actually Larry.
Yeah.
But then he wakes up and we see Larry in his cell, and it's just like,
Yep.
were you having a bad dream? Like it's just so crazy. That
That's the
opening sequence was
tease.
really good.
Yeah, that opening sequence was like a tease, because
Yeah.
I think a lot of after you said that, I started looking at everything like sideways when it had to do with Jimmy, and then when that part came up, I'm like, oh my god, he really? But then you look at everything else that's happening, it's like I don't know, it's almost like we started to say last episode that Jimmy is taking in so much of Larry that it's getting to him, and it's like, is it making him crazy, or is it making him like crack up crazy, or is it making him
Yeah.
going evil crazy, or what? But it's
He's
getting to
starting to
him.
feel all of the things, like you said, exactly. It's getting to him. He's starting to feel all of the things that Larry said to him. And
Hmm.
for everyone that's watching, just want to warn you, there will be spoilers for Blackbird episode 6. So
Oh
if you
yeah.
have not seen it, or if you do not want to know the spoilers, you don't need to watch the show that is called Blackbird season finale recap.
Hmm.
So we are recapping the season finale of Blackbird, and
Yeah.
right off the bat, we get these crazy images, and then
Hmm.
we see Larry and Jimmy go head to head in
Hmm.
verbal combat. And Larry starts to question, did you lie? And Jimmy starts to question Larry, saying, did you lie to me? You lie to your friends.
Hmm.
And then,
Oh,
yeah, he goes in.
yeah. Well, see, I thought that was okay. So I don't know. Jimmy seemed kind of like he was mad and angry, but he didn't. When he looked in the mirror, he was kind of disgusted too. So I was wondering if that was just part of his plan to get Larry to admit something,
Yeah,
or to get on that way to admitting something, or if he was just, just so ticked off at this point. Is like, okay, dude, just go ahead and admit it. Okay, I already
yeah.
know. I don't know if it was as much Jimmy getting upset with Larry, Jimmy himself getting upset with Larry, or Jimmy doing his job and egging Larry on.
Kudos to the director, because as you said, that shot through the mirror was so powerful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Just seeing that shot through the mirror was one of the most beautiful things I've ever really seen,
Yeah.
in such a tight, confined space at that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he questions Larry. He said, "Did you lie? Do you lie to your friends?" And then Larry's like, "No, I didn't lie to you. Lying was just this one thing." Starts to defend himself. He
Mm-hmm.
wants Jimmy's approval, and he says, "I dug those graves. You need to dig the graves in
Mm-hmm.
the right kind of soil, and it's
Oh
hard
yeah.
to find in the dark." Because Jimmy questions, why didn't he bury the body? He says, why didn't you
Mm-hmm.
bury that body? He goes, it's hard to find in the dark. And then I immediately think back to the one-eyed guy who ran up on him when he's that moment,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Good
Can I
stuff.
just say? Can I just say that Larry's voice,
Yeah.
it got to me. It gets to me every time when he starts really talking and getting emotion. Like his voice is messed up anyway, but when he puts emotion in it, like when he gets like really excited,
Hmm.
or like that moment where he's trying to prove to Jimmy that he really did it. He's kind of, I don't know. I don't know what he does to make it super creepy. It just kind of makes your skin
Yeah.
crawl, you know?
What do you say about my
Yeah,
eyes?
it's just like, oh, okay,
Yeah, it's
okay.
crazy. Larry lies and Jimmy's question his eyes. Says, I looked into your eyes. You ain't killed nobody. You don't have the eyes of a killer.
Mm-hmm.
And then Larry tells him to meet him in the wood shop and he'll tell you about his eyes. It's an
Yeah.
ominous threat. Like, I'll kill you in
Mm-hmm.
this wood shop. And we get to
Oh
see
yeah.
them a little bit later on
I
in
thought
the
Jimmy was.
episode.
Yeah, I thought Jimmy was dead. I thought Jimmy was dead. I'm like, he's talking about. Okay, so in the South they have this saying, take it behind the wood shop, and
Hmm.
you're supposed to get beat up. You get beat up, And
Yeah,
I thought
yeah,
he's taking you out to the wood shop. Don't go because he gonna jump you. That's what I was
absolutely.
thinking. It was one of okay. So there were several times during this whole season, I want to say, that I thought Jimmy was dead. I thought somebody was going to kill him. So this is
Like
like
he was a
another one of those
ghost.
ones. I thought somebody was going to kill him. I mean, he should have been dead several times over because he's done so many. He's had so many blunders and so many run-ins. And this was just
Yeah.
another time I thought, okay, it's going to happen now. This is when it's because it's almost like we're playing a game of when are they going to kill Jimmy?
And that's
That's
a perfect segue because that next scene, we actually see the CO, Mr. Carter. He
mm-hmm.
comes to visit Jimmy in the cell too and was like, who are you snitching on? Who are we working on? You snitching on this kid killer? We'll
we
get you. He said,
mm-hmm.
we going to get him. He said, I'm
we
down for you.
mm-hmm.
And then Jimmy actually confronts him, says, you already labeled me a snitch. There ain't
Mm-hmm.
nothing else you could do to me. There's nothing you
Mm-hmm.
could do to me. I'm not scared of you.
Mm-hmm.
And they
Mm-hmm.
confront him. I thought that scene was really, really powerful too, because you get
Yeah.
to see Jimmy like, I don't got nothing to lose. So give me a week. I ain't telling you nothing. I
Mm-hmm.
ain't telling you nothing.
Yeah. I think that's another sign that Jimmy is at the end of his rope. He's like, I'm ready to go. Ready to go. Do what you want to. But the security guard with the guard though, I mean, I did you believe that he was trying to get in and help Jimmy out? I mean, did anybody believe that? Because
I think
I
this
just
I think this guard's down on his luck and he's trying to get a come up in any way possible. So if
mm,
you're working with the FBI, I'ma steal whatever you doing and I'm gonna take credit for it and keep you in
mm,
here because you ain't
okay.
nothing but a lowly criminal. Like so
Yeah,
I
that's true.
think I think that was his thought process on everything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but at the end of the day, it just proves that he was a weak character, or was he
Oh
a
yeah.
weak character? Because we start to see something that's going to come up a little bit later that I have a theory on as well.
Okay.
He tells him to enjoy his day and savor it. And that's what Mr. Carter tells him. He says, enjoy your day and savor it. And that was
Mm-hmm.
a threat too. It's like, is this, what are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
You're telling me to enjoy this last day. Like, what's going to happen to me? A little
Right.
bit of foreshadowing that this show does it really really well by foreshadowing things to come
Mm-hmm.
that may or may not be connected. So I thought that was really
Yeah.
interesting as well.
Yeah, you knew it was going to be bad. It's going to be real bad, and so and it had nothing to do with Larry. I don't
Yeah.
know. Jimmy just stepped in it when he took this job, and then there still was the old guy who was like eyeballing him at breakfast.
Hmm.
So it's like, what was he thinking? What is going on with? What I mean, is does he know about the Jimmy working for the cops? Jimmy being a snitch. I mean, so
Yeah. We
is that a
find that out.
problem?
We find that out too because again,
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy says to Carter, that you messed up my phone calls too. So
Yeah,
that was a part of that.
he gave me a snitch
So
jacket. Mm-hmm.
when we go, we'll find that out when we come back to jail. But then we go to see Big Jimmy Senior, at the
Mm-hmm.
restaurant
Mm-hmm.
having a stroke.
Yeah.
He goes, "I want a churger and a cuff of cuppy,"
Mm-hmm.
and then immediately projectile vomits. I thought that was gross, and it was so heartbreaking because Ray Liotta's no longer
I
here.
know. It
That
was
was
so
just like a
sad.
stab and a twist. It was so sad.
Right. Mm-hmm. It was. It was. I don't think they meant it that way, but yeah, just knowing that this was like probably his last performance. That was just that stroke scene was just
It
terrible
was
for
tough.
me.
It was really, really tough. Really
Yeah.
tough.
Yeah.
Then when we go back to the scene, like everyone was like standing in line outside of Jimmy's cell because we see his name's the Chin, the old guy. He's the Chin, right? Am I making that
Mm-hmm.
up? He
Yeah, I think so.
goes, he he tells him this story, right?
Mm-hmm.
about this guy. Wait, where is that at? Where is that at? He gets a visit from the chimney. He tells me the story
Hmm.
about his friend who's dying of cancer, and he beats cancer only to slip and fall. And his final words are, you just never fucking know.
Yep.
You just never know. Another red
Yep.
flag. Like, what don't we know? You just never
Yes.
fucking know. And
Is
he
Jimmy gonna
walks
slip and
away.
fall?
And
Yeah.
then the other
Yeah.
guy blow him a kiss. He blew him a kiss like
Yes.
goodbye.
Like, is Jimmy gonna slip and fall? Is what's gonna happen? Like,
Right. He done
I
labeled
don't
me a
know.
snitch, took my phone call. Something's about to happen to me. And I'm just like, oh,
This,
the
I mean,
opening
this
was
is
perfect.
stressful. It was stressful.
Right. Because it's putting all these emotions on you, all of these
Yeah.
emotions on you. What's going to
Yes.
happen? And you really start to feel all of the things that Jimmy is going through in jail,
Yes.
like
Yes.
all of
Yes.
them.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was
Yes.
great. I thought that was
Yes.
absolutely great because I felt it.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of putting us into that cell with that prison with him. So we're standing
Yeah.
beside him, like wondering, okay, what's going to do next? What's going to happen next? Who's going to do what? Who is coming for him next?
Yeah.
And so now it's a matter of who's going to do him in.
Yeah. And we get that answer a little bit because Jimmy finally makes it to
Mm-hmm.
the wood shop to see
Yeah,
Larry, and Larry has a map with these
with
dots, and you
birds around it.
automatically assume like what it is. These dots are the bodies, and he's telling them, "I've been carving these wood things. They're blackbirds. They watch over the dead." And check this out. You immediately think back to the first time Larry went into the grave.
Mm-hmm.
Who was he with? His father.
His dad, yes.
His father. And then
Uh-huh.
fast forward, spoiler alert, later on in the episode, we see his father
Mm-hmm.
get that map
Yes.
and
Oh
burn
my
it.
God.
So all this time, I thought it was Gary who might have been his accomplice, but his
No.
accomplice could have been his
The
father,
dad.
who he's been
Yes.
doing dirt with since he was a little child.
Wait, so were they robbing graves and burying bodies at the same time?
I
So
think I
Larry
think they
could
were
have been.
killing women together. This is my own theory. I think they were killing women together.
I think that's it. I think that's it because I'm sorry. I don't think Larry started this on his own. I don't think he was working on his own.
I don't think
I
he
think
does either.
Oh, yes. Because dad, I mean, when I saw, fast forwarding, and again, this is a
Hmm.
spoiler, and again, this is a recap show, so spoilers are going to happen. Anyway, when I saw that the mail go out and the dad get it and he burned it, and I'm like,
Why would he do? Why would he
he
do
didn't
that
even question it. Didn't even
at
question it.
all? At all? Why would he do that? And then he's the one who told him the blackbird, they watch over the dead. He's
The
carving
dad.
the blackbirds. And he's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, oh, this is what you
Mm-hmm.
do.
Mm-hmm. And the
Then,
creepy way he had them around the map, like they were
hmm
all turned looking, like all these little birds looking around the map, looking at it. And then there were none in front of right in front of Jimmy. I mean, Larry, where Larry sat. There were none. They were like
none,
all in
none.
like they were all around looking at the map and looking at him.
It was such a great shot. I don't think I can. I don't even think I can get it. I have the picture, but I don't think I can get. I think it's too big. Let me
Mm.
see if I can get it into the system because it's such a great shot, and I really want people to see. And now, can you break down the things that Larry said to Jimmy while Jimmy was in there?
Oh, break down.
Just
What
sort of
I
explain like kind of what he was talking about because they go back and forth and they end up in a little bit of a fisticuff situation.
Well, Larry really starts, and it got really uncomfortable again. It's getting worse. And Larry starts talking about more about how he did it. Like when he starts talking about his crimes, I get uncomfortable because I'm
Yeah,
just like, this is creepy. But he's like getting each episode, he's getting more and more detail, and here you get it, you get all of it. And I'm looking at Jimmy the whole time while Jimmy is still pushing him. Jimmy is still wanting him to answer questions, but Jimmy is getting slowly and slowly more angry. And then he just kind of burst out and
rightfully so.
he comes. I mean, it's to where he gets to where Jimmy can no longer talk, sitting there talking to this dude about what he does to these girls, and so he snaps off at them, kind of like a just yeah.
He's getting off on it too. And you
Yes.
sort of see Jimmy start to get pissed off and frustrated by it.
Yeah, this is like a look that I saw mostly. He was conflicted. Like he knew
Yeah,
he had a job to do and he had to stay in character, but he's like this sick bastard.
that
He's
is
just
a
like he
hundred
just
percent a look
cannot.
of confliction.
Mm-hmm. And
And
so yeah,
then he fight and they choke each other, and
and Jimmy gets
Jimmy
hauled up.
gets, yeah,
Why don't they take Larry nowhere? They let
he
Larry
gets
sit
thrown in
there,
the hole.
but but Larry gets to sit there long enough to roll up the map, put it in a little um mailer, and to mail it off to his house. So this is another. Remember, probably our first podcast, I talked about how the law enforcement, the cops and stuff in this, they just really all incompetent. They
Yeah,
had right there the thing that would have showed them everything they needed to know right there.
right there.
Jimmy, when they pulled Jimmy off, Jimmy was trying to tell them there it was right there, the map. It was, if anybody would have just looked over, it's like look over, you could see a map with dots on it. Oh, what could that be? Maybe it's a clue. I mean, we don't have to be Blue's Clues to see this, that it's a clue and we need to do something. And then, but Jimmy's like, he's like freaking out too, because he's like, yo,
Yeah,
nobody's listening to me. And then he starts, okay, and then I'm vindicated here. Remember I said that phone number wasn't going to work? He started shouting them numbers, and what happened?
he really
Yes.
did need. He really needed a safe word. Joe was right. Joe was right. He needed a safe word. But you know why he goes there though? Because it also brings you back to what Carter said. He said, "Enjoy this day, savor
Mm-hmm.
it, because this will be the last day you'll be out and about. Because I'm gonna have my guys throw your ass in the hole." And
Yep.
that's what that
Yep.
meant to me. And they throw him in the
Mm-hmm.
hole. He's like, "Yo, I'm with the FBI." He goes,
Mm-hmm.
"Never mention FBI to me again." Slams him, and he
Yep.
bites his fingernails off and draws the map
The
on the
map.
wall.
Oh my God. And
So
they still
when
don't get it then, do they?
they still don't get it, no. But then when they bring him out, he's like, "I need a pen. I need a pen. I need a pen before I forget it." He draws the map, tells them the stuff, and they go, "Good job. You did this. We got him."
Mm-hmm. And we'll
Good
try to
stuff.
find him. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Jimmy's still pissed off because he's like, they were so intent on getting him and throwing him in the hole that they just kind of left evidence just sitting there. And
Yeah.
Larry's so smug when he goes to court, knowing, like, and see, that goes back to your theory about the dad. He knows that the dad got rid of that map. He knows that map does no
Hmm.
longer exist. He knows, even though he knows we have this moment where Gary is like, okay, no. Gary flips on him kind of and has this emotional
Yeah,
moment.
they kind of we
Yeah.
thought Gary was involved, but then this
Mm-mm.
tells you Gary wasn't involved. Cause like I knew I tried to get my brother some booty, and he beat the girl up,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
and he's
so
like, "You knew he was killing people," and it was like, "Oh, maybe I did."
mm-hmm. and so we see that I don't think Gary was the problem. And we find out Gary's not the problem. But he knows that Gary was not his ally. So he had to
Hmm.
have known his dad would have burned the map.
Yeah,
So he goes to court smug, just knowing that he was going to get off. Knowing that he was going to get off. That was the most satisfying moment
yeah.
that
And it was the
courtroom.
two belts, the dream, right back to the dream. Another
Mm-hmm.
thing that this series does, it foreshadows, and does foreshadowing perfectly, and it does
Mm-hmm.
callbacks perfectly, because they
Yes.
perfectly call back to the two belt scene, and they go, "That we got him." That's how he did it with two belts. We
Mm-hmm.
got him. You did
Mm-hmm.
this. You did this. You helped us out, and it's a beautiful scene,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, and
yeah,
Jimmy also tells them about how he folded the clothes too. That was another clue that they needed.
yeah,
And so yeah, and why the one kidnapping was different, and and murder was different than all the others. Jimmy had all this information.
yeah. Another thing, when they're with Gary, we kind of skipped over that part because the cops go to see Gary.
Mm-hmm.
Gary hints at his dad being a sicko, because if you go back and watch it, His dad's
Mhm.
in the back burning stuff.
Mhm.
Then he disappears very quietly. And they go, "Where's your dad go?" And he goes, "Probably off wandering, drinking, or pinching the watch off a corpse." He says that. And you're like,
I
oh,
missed it. Yeah.
yeah. I missed it the first time around too. I had to go back and watch it. But he says that. I'm like,
Mhm.
the dad was in on it. They think the
Mhm.
dad was in on it. He's a sicko. You got to
Mhm.
be a sick person to dig up a dead body.
Right. And I mean that there's like a whole set of moral code that people have, and it's like once you cross certain lines, anything becomes possible. Anything
Yeah.
becomes possible. I think back to I don't know where I read it. It was in one of well, yeah, I do. It was in one of my biology classes. It says that human beings were kind of conditioned not to destroy our own bodies. That's why you
Mm,
cannot like bite yourself and you like eat yourself. You
yeah.
can't. There has to be something. They're like psychological boundaries that are in place that if from that natural boundaries from nature that we're like evolutionarily given to not eat ourselves, to not be cannibals and start with my finger and just eat my whole arm. But when something comes and breaks that natural boundary, then you'll be able to bite your whole hand off if you want. And
Mm.
so that's where I get
Like how
when
James Franco cut his leg off in that movie, or arm
yes,
off in that movie.
you have to have some kind of psychological break in order to allow yourself to do these heinous things. So going back to when you can go into a grave and dig it out and rob and just rob a body,
Yeah.
that breaks something. So you'll be able to do a bunch of other stuff and not even think anything of it, where the rest of us would have some kind of moral, you know, something. And we see
Yeah.
Jimmy doesn't think anything's wrong with what he does. He
Larry
doesn't.
doesn't think
I
anything's
mean,
wrong with
Larry,
what he
Larry, sorry,
does. Yeah.
sorry, Larry. Larry doesn't think there's anything wrong. When Jimmy starts to question, even toward the earlier episodes, Larry just kind of looks at him like, "What do you mean?"
What do you mean?
Like,
Right.
yeah.
And that's a beautiful callback. So after, so sort of, we're wrapping things up now. Jimmy gets
Hmm.
out of jail. He meets a flight attendant. We assume that they hook up after he lands. What else happens? Larry father burns the evidence, and we sort of see Gary tries to commit suicide. Not Gary, Larry tries to commit suicide. Gary comes to see him, and Gary's like, "Dude, you have to give up the bodies. You have to
Hmm.
change." He goes, "Not you." And it's a beautiful scene from Walter Hauser. He's like crying. It was not
Hmm.
you, Gary, not you. And he loses his last bit of like hope. His last friend lost everything. And
Hmm.
that's how it goes off. And it was just like, you lost everything because you're a sicko, and everyone knows you're a sicko, and no one's saving you or making up for you anymore.
Hmm. But then I go back to the psychologist where she was saying about how Jimmy could damage, you know,
They're one
Larry.
idea away, but it's still every time it comes from Gary. It comes from Gary. Gary's the one who's damaging it.
Yeah,
Jimmy is a placeholder for Gary.
a
All the
surrogate.
damage is coming, exactly, great word. All the damage is coming from Gary. The
Yeah.
hurt is
Hmm.
coming from Gary. Gary
Hmm.
is his enabler. It's all
Yeah.
Gary. It's all Gary.
Hmm.
Gary is replaced by Jimmy, but it's just like you said, a surrogate for Gary, his
Hmm.
brother, who was eating all of his good nutrients in the womb, taken from him. It
Hmm.
has to
Hmm.
feel guilty for Gary. I thought
Hmm.
this was beautifully written. I don't know about the source material, but the series did a very, very good job of telling this story.
Oh
And I
yeah.
thought they wrapped it up very well. It's a sick
Hmm.
story. It's a dark story. It does take a lot out of you,
It does.
but overall, in those it was 6 quick episodes, and it was entertaining. They made some dark stuff very entertaining.
Yeah. I'm glad they didn't drop it all at once. Like that's becoming the norm for a lot of the stuff. I'm glad they
Yeah.
teased it out one episode because I don't think you could stand it all at once. I mean, I did try to binge all of them because we did get advanced screeners of it. I
Mhm.
couldn't binge it all at one time.
Yeah, me neither. It took me a good 3 days to do it. Like I
Yeah.
can only do most I can do is 2 episodes at a time.
Mhm.
But
You gotta take
overall,
a break.
I thought it was really really good.
Mhm.
So I give it a thumbs up. I give it 4 stars. You know, could be really really good.
Mhm. Yeah, I'll give it 4.5. I'll give it that one
Awesome.
half. because it does a lot of stuff that a lot of these shows are not. It goes that extra mile with the callbacks and the foreshadowing and weaving all these other, you know, themes in on one another, and then,
Mhm.
you know, bringing them, and then you like see it in the beginning, and then you remember it toward the end, and they just everything just sort of melds together well. It's so well done. So yeah, half star for
Now,
me.